Today in the studio, folks, I've got a real treat for you. If you don't follow the FBI Negotiator on Instagram, you better do it. If you want to Google his book, Never Split the Difference. You've seen him on freaking all kinds of talk shows, news channels, and perhaps even, major headlines. Why? Well, because he's an FBI negotiator. Chris Voss, what's cracking?
Hey, Brad, nice to see you. Thanks for having me on today.
Dude, I'm so freaking pumped to talk to you today. I love the idea of negotiations. I believe that with the power of sales, persuasion, and negotiation, pretty much anyone can guarantee themselves some level of success.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
Like, dude, if you got the ability to negotiate and persuade and close people, you can pretty much get dropped off in any town at any time and find work or create revenue. Now, you, on the other hand, you grew up in law enforcement, yeah?
Yeah, basically. And my first job out of college, after working for my father, was the police department and then the FBI.
See, I always wanted to be a po-po. Now, look at that, sir.
Very nice.
This was an honorary badge, but they accidentally swore me in. So technically, I'm a sworn officer of the law. But I always wanted to be a police officer. How was that? Did you like it? Was it everything you thought it would be?
How do you get accidentally sworn in?
You know, buddy, I'll tell you. Look, I was doing this keynote, and it turns out the mayor of a small town was in the audience, and I told her my story, how I always wanted to be a cop. I mean, I always wanted to be a cop, dude. That's like the coolest job ever, especially, let alone FBI. But she came up afterwards and she said, "Hey, I heard your story, and listen, I love you. You inspire what you had said, and I think I've got the power to grant your dream." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, I'm the mayor of Oroville, California, and I think I've got the ability to freaking make your dream come true and make you a police officer." And I said, "Yeah, right." She said, "No, I'm doubles checking. I'll see you tomorrow." She came in the next day. It was a 2-day event. And she came up with some lady and she freaking swore me in with this.
Very nice. Yeah, yeah, very nice.
She had to film it for the records and she gave me the badge. And I said, "Okay, cool." Thinking it's a honorary deal, right?
Right.
Well, I was talking to my buddy who was in the FBI, by the way, for 20 years. And he said, "Brad, she didn't swear you in." I said, "Yes, she did." And he said, "You took an oath?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Dude, that makes you a sworn officer." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I don't know if she knows what she did, but dude, that makes it real."
Okay,
and I said, "Well, I'm not going to pretend it's real. I'm not going to act like it's real." But apparently she wasn't supposed to swear me in.
Fate, happenstance of the universe, right?
It's just laws of attraction. Laws of attraction.
There you go. Exactly.
But I always wanted to be a cop. So how was it? Like, you probably were in high school, wanted to be a cop, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Was your family was in law enforcement?
No, not really. I was my father was a small businessman. He'd done a short stint in the Marines, but there wasn't really any law enforcement lineage in my family per se.
What made you want to go?
I saw a movie when I was 16 years old called The Super Cops. And it was about 2 real-life police officers, NYPD, and they were just really creative, innovative guys. They were mavericks. I didn't realize how much they were mavericks and how much that fit my personality. And they did a lot of good, and the community loved them. So I was impressed at doing something really creative and doing a lot of good and having a great time while I was doing it.
Did it turn out that way? When you finally became a police officer, did you underestimate or overestimate how cool it would be?
Yeah, I don't know. It was satisfying, both my time with the police department and with the FBI. I focused more on the job satisfaction, really enjoying it, especially when I was working kidnappings and I was running our overall kidnap negotiation response for the entire world. It was gratifying. It felt like it was a privilege. So, yeah, cool, I suppose, would have probably been a side benefit, but I felt it was a privilege the whole time I was doing it.
Well, that's nice of you. And FBI, again, I think, that's where you start getting into the upper echelons of a kid's dream of being a cop. But when you start as a police officer, just a regular police officer, what town, what police officer town, or what town were you a police officer at?
KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department.
Oh, Well, dude, that's a pretty dangerous little town too, isn't it?
Well, you can get killed almost anywhere. You know, Kansas City is the greater metro area at the time was probably about 1.5 million people. KCMO was about half of that. And,
Now,
you know, it had its dangerous neighborhoods.
yeah, and you didn't start out negotiator and all these cool positions.
No.
You started out just as a cadet and a freaking rookie, right?
Yeah, uniform cop. Everybody's in law enforcement pretty much starts out in the same place.
And then
Uniform police officer.
after that, though, what made you get into negotiations as opposed to like, homicide or freaking narco or freaking the vice?
Yeah, well, I was slated. I wanted to be in SWAT, and I was on the list to go to the SWAT team with the PD when the Bureau hired me. Bureau hired me, sent me to Pittsburgh, and I got on the SWAT team when I was in Pittsburgh. And then I got transferred to New York City. And
hold on real quick, because I'll forget. So you said the Bureau hired you and then you went to SWAT. So SWAT is the Bureau or is it police?
Every FBI office, every field office has a SWAT team. There's approximately 56 field offices across the U.S. Each office has a SWAT team and a negotiation team. It's an additional duty.
Yeah, but if you see a SWAT team on a scene, that's technically the Bureau. That's not the police department's jurisdiction.
It depends upon whose scene it is. You know what the event is. One of the big differences between negotiation and SWAT, like I worked mutual operations with local negotiators all the time. You know, we spoke the same language. You can't really mix and match SWAT teams. You can hand the scene off from one SWAT team to another, but you can't integrate the two of them.
Interesting. So you got to be SWAT, and then what led you to negotiations?
Yeah, well, I ripped my knee up. It was actually an aggravated an old injury from martial arts in college. I tried out for the Bureau's version of the Navy SEALs, which is the hostage rescue team. It's a domestic tier 1 counter-terrorist response SWAT team. And I hurt my knee again. And, I decided they could only fix it so many times. So before it was completely destroyed, I decided to move to a different part of crisis response. We had hostage negotiators. I figured it would be easy. It wasn't, but it looks easy.
Yeah. Now, if I'm on the scene of a hostage situation and I am not properly trained to negotiate, is it like night and day, the consequences?
Well, as long as you don't make things worse. I mean, most of the time, if you don't make things worse, the odds are that it'll work out.
How many people have you been on the phone with, bad guys, where like it's 1, 2, 3 that time? How many times were you in this situation?
Well, I was on the phone, Chase Manhattan Bank, hostage taking in New York City. Bank robberies with hostages, well, they happen all the time in the movies. Where there's negotiation where the bad guys are trapped inside, it's actually a really rare event. And so I did that. I worked on, we had a small, very domestic incident in Dobbs Ferry, New York. I worked on that. I talked some fugitives out of a high rise in Harlem once. That was door to door, wasn't on the phone. Coached, and it's not just the person on the phone where the real strength of the team is. It's the people that are around them. I could put a mediocre negotiator on the phone. If I got a good team around him, the team will coach him and he'll talk to people out.
Yeah. Is it important that they talk to one person only?
Well, like, for example, as opposed to.
Like I notice in the movies, now I'm going off as the movies, but when you see the movies, there's always one guy, the cool dude has to show up. No one gets to talk to that guy till that guy gets here. Why? Well, because that guy's highly trained. And if you get on the phone, talk to that guy and say some stupid shit, people could die. So everybody has to wait for this hero to show up.
Oh, yeah, the one negotiator.
That's you, exactly. And I noticed, by the way, you wanted to be in SWAT. That's a heroic position. Then you wanted to save, what was it? Hostage rescue team, which is probably the Navy SEAL version. You keep wanting to take these heroic positions. You get hurt, so you can't take as heroic as you want, and you still end up in the hero position.
Yeah, well, I always just like crisis response. So I like it when people have to make decisions. Deferment of decisions is one of the things that rubs me the wrong way. And in a crisis, somebody's got to make up their mind and make a decision.
And you don't talk like a cop. Like if I didn't know you were a cop, I wouldn't even know you were a cop. Does that help you in negotiations?
Well, what do you expect from a cop? How do cops talk?
You know, in the movies, it's, Mel Gibson or Danny Glover or some shit, but, it's always somebody, very, focused, but, they got mustaches. You can tell that they're cops. They talk like a cop. You almost talk like a New York, dude.
I'll take that as a high compliment.
It is. In other words, it almost seems like if I were a bad guy and I'm talking to you, dude, you don't sound like freaking law. You don't sound like you're condescending. You sound like you could freaking be my buddy.
Unfortunately, that's one of the problems with local law enforcement today. Police officers are trained to have a commanding voice, to give orders, to be clear, to be loud and clear, to be direct. That's actually really counterproductive to calming a situation down, a safe resolution, getting everybody calmed down. So you're probably talking about what I think are one of the fundamental training issues in law enforcement today.
Well, so this is because it seems like it's just naturally you learn to be kind of mellow and chill and cool.
You get trained, there's a guy named Daniel Coyle wrote a book called The Talent Code. Coyle would contend that nothing is natural, that everything is trained. Now, I'm not sure that that's quite that absolute, but you get trained, you learn how to use a calm voice to calm people down. There's actually neuroscience that backs it up.
Now, you're no longer active with the Bureau, correct?
Retired from the Bureau quite a while ago, yeah.
So you retired, you wrote a book. Did you write the book after or while?
No, book came out. It was probably, I've been out for, it was actually, almost 10 years from the time that I retired to when the book finally came out. I was teaching business negotiation at a couple of different business schools, Georgetown, USC, and at the law school at Harvard in the interim time period, taking the ideas from hostage negotiation and proving that they worked in business.
That's the secret sauce that I want to get into right there. Mostly my listeners are entrepreneurial and they're not going to be negotiating for kidnappings. However, I knew that because I read the book, that there are tie-ins. I think it's important for people to understand that, tonality,
right?
Inflection, hearing what you didn't hear, but you heard it because you heard something else. Like, what's that called? Like awareness, situational awareness.
Yeah, I think that's a good term. Yeah.
What do you think the major traits are for two people? This is leave it easy. Two people are getting together to negotiate, right? A financial transaction. How do you get the advantage? Just what traits is a person looking for? So I'm entering into this negotiation completely with an advantage.
Yeah, hearing the other side out. One thing that's really missed in negotiation itself should be an information gathering process. A long time ago, a guy named Herb Cohen wrote a book called You Can Negotiate Anything, and he defined negotiation as the use of information and power in a web of tension. Now, I'd only change part of that definition, and then I'd define another part. Herb said the use of information. He doesn't really talk about gathering information in the negotiation. If you're talking the whole time, you're not gathering any information. Not only you're not gathering information and you're not gaining rapport. People love to be listened to. They don't like to be talked at. So if you're talking at them, making your case, your value proposition, your sales pitch, people, they don't bond to you as a result of that. They bond to you if they feel heard out. That's the first change. Then the definition, Herb Cohen wrote this book back in the 1980s. Nearly everybody who's really made it a point to read negotiations books has read this book. You Can Negotiate Anything. The web of tension that he was talking about back then really is emotions. And emotions are a web of tension through all of our human interactions. Now that we've defined it, we got skills and we got neuroscience on how to navigate it. It really changes the game.
And so the title of the book, Never Split the Difference. Everybody listening should probably already go have that either on Audible or go buy it. Never Split the Difference. The title, it's almost like a double entendre.
Well, it's certainly counter.
Why the title?
Yeah, because when we got into it, we wrote the book. My son Brandon and I wrote the book with this guy named Tal Ross. Tal Ross, a genius writer. I mean, the best business writer that I have ever run across, bar none. And we had a working title, and he said, sometime while we're working on this book, the perfect title is going to occur to me, and I'm going to suggest it. And our philosophy has always been never split the difference. Never, never. There's a whole bunch of reasons why not to split the difference. If you want to be happy, you can't split the difference. If you don't want the other side to resent the deal, you can't split the difference.
And you know what most people do in negotiations? Come on, let's split the difference.
Right. And that there's a saying, and I've heard really good business people say this: the best deals are the deals where both sides are a little unhappy. Well, are the best marriages when both sides are a little unhappy? Because if you make a deal, you're in a relationship for the duration of the deal, a relationship of trust. You got to look out for each other. You got to implement the deal, which is a lot harder than making the deal. So having the other side unhappy while you're implementing, you being unhappy while you're implementing, that's a recipe for losing money.
Or sleep. Yeah, that's brain damage right there. So how does one get away from that? How do you not split the difference? Isn't that the opposite of negotiation?
Is not splitting the difference the opposite of negotiation?
Yeah, like in other words, when I hear that's why I said it's like a double entendre. There's a play on words or something, because to negotiate, obviously, in my mind, is to find a amicable, path, find a way to go, negotiate, find a freaking win. So if you never split the difference, that's almost like if just someone hearing never split the difference, that's almost the opposite of negotiate. It's almost like, nope, don't negotiate, never split the difference. I know that's not what you mean, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's what most people feel about negotiation being basically a zero-sum game. That's bargaining. When I win, you lose. I can't get anything unless I take it from you. Real negotiation goes from a zero-sum game to a positive-sum game. Let's collaborate so that if I get something, at least you don't lose. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say in a negotiation, you got a problem with my price. Actually, nobody ever has a problem with the price. The problem is what they're getting for the price. So if you say you got a problem with the price and I decide to cut my price, what I've just done is make something that doesn't work for you cheaper, which means it still doesn't work. I didn't address the real fundamental problems of what you were getting for your money. Now, there's a really good chance if I make the adjustments that you want to have made in the deal, it'll actually make it more profitable for me. How is that splitting the difference? I made your changes and I made more money. In no way, shape, or form is that splitting the difference.
No. That's negotiations. That's the art of negotiation. So
positive sum game. That's how you change it. Yeah.
So you help now companies obviously learn negotiations. You train in salespeople, you train in executives, you train in all kinds of people.
Yeah, and we primarily market to high performance individuals. Now we teach companies, we teach sales teams on a regular basis, but as you well know, in any given sales team is going to be 20 to 50% of those people that are not open to learning and are not going to be there next year. If we're teaching high performance individuals, they're all open to learning. They come to the training that we put on. We meet you where you are, whatever your skill level is. We're not trying to give you the same training we're giving the guy next to you because you got separate skill levels. And if if the Black Swan team is teaching a company, we got to give everybody pretty much the same training because that's what the company's contracted for. If we're meeting where you are for you to learn the Black Swan method, we'll tailor it to you, which will mean you'll move forward faster because it's the best training for you personally.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, wouldn't it be cool if you had a virtual option to do that?
Oh, we got tons of virtual stuff, and since the pandemic, that's all we've been doing is virtual.
When you said you're training these guys and you have to give all the same training, but if one-on-one, you can adapt it. Wouldn't everybody have to at least hear this, the initial training first? Like for example, if I said, okay, train me how to negotiate, where would you start?
Well, and so then it's not that we adapt the training for you, we put you in the right class. Like if you're going to come to us, first of all, we need to know, even if you've read the book, we've got 9 negotiation skills. For you to move forward, you have to at least understand which each one of those are. We've got a specific class just for those skills. We call it the N9. We're going to give you your basics in that because then we're going to move you into fundamentals. But if you go into fundamentals and you don't have the skills, at least know what they are, you're going to be lost. So we got to find where you are in your journey.
Now, if anyone listening to this wants to learn how to be a master negotiator, where would they go, by the way, so I don't forget by the end of the show? Yeah,
thanks for asking. I appreciate that. The website is blackswanltd.com, BlackSwanLTD.com. And we've got a bunch of free services there. We've got training at all levels. Go to the website, look under services, get as much as you can from us for free. Sign up for the newsletter. It's free, it's concise, it's actionable. Let us get you as far as you can, at least get you rolling on the free stuff, and then you can jump into the more complicated training to really raise the level of your game.
Now, Chris, only because I'm always been in sales, I always watch people, listen to people. I believe I'm good at reading micro expressions and whatnot. And what you just said, is that negotiating? Like, in other words, that's smooth, like how you did that. You're like, freaking dude, go get the free shit, man. Get it rolling. Look, you can get the more complicated stuff later, which is an easy way of saying, hey, go look at the free stuff. If you like it, there's shit you can buy.
Yeah. It probably is negotiation. I mean, we have a lot of discussion as when the sales stop and when the negotiations begin. Sales is if I'm trying to get it in your head that you want something. As soon as you want it, now we're talking about delivery, that's probably a negotiation. And the real issue is, do I trust the person I'm dealing with?
Yeah. So just because, again, I mean, I'm using this as a training time for me. Like I'm getting free training with Chris Voss right now. So if we role play right now, and let's say we're negotiating a $50,000 product and you're trying to close me on $50,000 and I say, dude, I need to think about it. That's not negotiation yet, is it?
No, I would say it sounds like you got some real doubts.
Right. But I mean, like this isn't because when I break down sales, there's a time that you negotiate, and it's not when you're gathering information to build the value, to ask for the sale, to get a no or a yes. And once there's a yes, well, now we got to negotiate because everything isn't one price, unfortunately. If everything was one price, you wouldn't need to negotiate, right?
Well, it would depend upon what the terms were.
True. But my point is like if you walk into a car dealership and those cars are $50,000, period, you want one? And you say, yeah, I want one. You're not negotiating. You only negotiate when you say, yeah, I want one, but I don't want to pay $50,000. And now it's like, well, let's negotiate. Haggling. Huh?
All right. So let me give you an example. Let me switch the example out because it's applicable to cars also.
They used to call it dickering.
Yeah. Right.
You remember
when you're focused on a price.
You remember the word dicker? Did you ever use that?
I never did.
Dude, we used to tell people, listen, in mixed company, I wouldn't say it, but it was funny back in the day. They'd say they have to go, they got to get somebody, they got to get, their wife or their husband or something like that. And when we'd say it, we'd just say, hey, listen, go get your girl, bring her back and we'll dick her, because they wanted to negotiate.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny. Anyway, you don't get it, but anyway, dude, you're honestly like the most exciting guest I think I've had in a while for one reason. Because dude, I always thought, hey, I'm a master negotiator. And now I've got a master negotiator to see if I was correct all this time. Like maybe I sucked all this time and just did well on accident, but could have done way better.
Yeah,
So
it's a hard part for a lot of people because it's really about improving your win rate. A lot of people, whoever we coach in negotiations, there's 2 or 3 things that you're doing already that are really good. We wouldn't be coaching you if you didn't have some success level. There's 3 or 4 things that you're not doing yet, but if you had enough time, you'd figure them out. Now, the problem is, how much money did you leave on the table trying to learn it on your own? And then I guarantee you there's 1 or 2 things we do that you would never figure out because we're scooping up all the knowledge from all over the world, from business negotiation, hostage negotiation, business schools. And the thought that we put out as part of the Black Swan method is really the thinking of a number of guys. And I am one of those people. So we're building and evolving what we're talking about all the time. You could learn it if you had a team of guys working on it like we do, but you're probably out there all on your own trying to do the best you can and make a living and pay your bills.
Yep. And not to mention, like, you guys have access to like studies and
yeah,
crazy stuff. So tell us what your thought is on like the most important thing to think about I'm trying to define negotiations because like you said, when does sales stop, negotiations start? To me, I thought before talking to you, negotiations is when you're dickering on the price. You're like, you're not negotiating when I'm selling you the car or selling you the house or selling you the freaking phone. We're not negotiating.
Hold on. Let me expand your definition of negotiation because let's say you agree on the car. What happens next on a car price?
We negotiate.
Yeah, and over what?
The price. We negotiate.
No, that's what I'm saying. You already agreed.
I want the car. If the price is right, let's go negotiate. And that's what a negotiation is.
What happens after you agree on the price?
Then you shake hands and the deal is done.
How do you give them the money?
You exchange it based on the terms of the deal.
There you go. Now the definition of the exchange. Now you agree on a price in a car. Do they want you to pay cash?
Well, those are terms.
I said, what happens after we agree on a price?
Normally, like in a car deal, we discuss, terms, but normally people aren't agreeing on a price. They're agreeing on payments and down payments and terms. They agree on the terms, and the terms are what we're negotiating.
How can you agree on payment and down payment if you haven't agreed on a price?
Yes, and people do it all the time.
Really? When was the last time you agreed on payment terms on a car without having a price?
Well, I'm an expert, Chris, so I've never done it, but we get people to do it all the time in the car business. Why? Well, Chris, why do you care what the car costs, dude? You're not paying cash. You're paying $500 a month. If I could get you a Lamborghini for $500 a month, do you care what it cost? And you're going to say no. You're going to say no. I just want a Lamborghini, right? So if I get you a Lamborghini for $500, but it turns out it's $950,000, do you really care what it costs? It's $500 a month. They'd be like, "I'll take it." Why? Because I sold them a payment, not a price. So you can get people off price, and there's, believe it or not, Chris, a lot of people that get closed on payment and terms, not price. And yes, but not me. I always say, tell me the price. And then once we agree on the price, I don't care what the terms are. You want cash? You want 60 months? Do I want to lease it? Like, those are just terms.
Okay.
What do you do? What do you do? When you buy a car, do you go in and negotiate a price or terms? Or both?
I do the price, and I always pay the way I want to pay.
Right, because if you negotiate a price, the terms are set. Like, you don't get to determine what your payment is if you determine the price. You just get to determine the price. You can't determine the terms. What I mean by that is, like, let's say me and you said, okay, 50 grand the car is. Okay, good. Now you want to put 10,000 down or 40,000 down. That will determine your payment based on your interest rate, based on the term that you pick. That you don't get to negotiate. Like, you can't say, well, I want 60 payments of $300. Well, that doesn't equal 50 grand, Chris.
Right.
So we got
That's
a problem.
if you finance.
Right. But in that whole stage of the sale, that is negotiation, right?
Well, that's an aspect of it. If I've agreed to that, then the other issue, the real issue is, what happens if you get a phenomenal deal? I mean, you just kill them on every single term. What happens when you come back to the car dealer?
In reality, because I know where you're going, because you are right. In reality, the people high five and they think it's the best thing on earth on one side, and then on your end, you talk shit about the dealer. You're upset and pissed off. You feel like you got hammered, and you bombard their customer service index.
Yeah, and if they have the latitude to help you out in any way, shape, or form after you bought the car, and you're coming back to that car dealer one way or another. If it was a great car and a great deal, you're going to buy another car from them. If it was a lousy car and a lousy deal, you're going to want to come back because you want restitution, you want revenge, you want something for free, you want to get them back because you got cheated. And a lot of people don't realize when they really get a phenomenal deal and act as if it's a one-shot deal, then they don't have a tendency to make that many deals because they always leave people behind them that don't want to deal with them again or never want to do them any favors. I negotiate with everybody in a way where I get what I want, but I may have to turn around and come back to them the very next day and ask for more, and I don't want to get slaughtered because they're mad at me from the day before.
What's the most valuable result of mastering negotiations?
Life is a lot more fun, and you find that you get deals faster, and people want to deal with you again. And what we see on a regular basis is the people that we're coaching, that we're turning into black swans, they don't brag about this great deal that they once made 4 years ago. Black swans are cutting phenomenal deals every month. Not quite every week, but I mean life-changing deals on a regular basis. And in point of fact, they're happier.
That's freaking awesome. Dude, if I were a business listening to this and I had a sales team and I did not call Black Swan Group to negotiate how much it's going to cost for your virtual on-demand training that will deliver, track, and measure everything you teach to these people with enough repetition to get them to at least comprehend it, or we'll have proof that they don't, you'd be crazy, because every person, whether they're experienced or not, can learn additional ways to freaking improve their negotiations. Like, it's not a once and done thing, is it?
It really isn't. If you spoke to somebody once, chances that you're going to want to speak to them again are really high. And if you treat stuff as if it's a one and done, you're really leaving money on the table long term.
Where do you live? What city do you live in?
These days, I'm living in Vegas.
Oh, you're living in Vegas, dude? You should have just came down to the studio. It would have been way better. We have studios here. You need to come film here.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, your courses. Like, are you making any more courses, by the way?
I don't know that we're getting ready to pivot back into in-person. So we've got quite a few courses online now, but we're getting ready to go back to in-person stuff. So I don't know that we're adding any new courses. We're adding a lot of stuff for women. But the new courses, what's that?
How are they going to leverage it?
The funny, women like to learn negotiations, and it's really the same skills, but sometimes they're more comfortable when it's just women in the course, or they're more comfortable hearing the exact same stuff from women. We take that into account. We give people, if they want to learn that way, we're going to teach you how you want to learn.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant like there's something that they can do that men couldn't do, or vice versa. You just mean the way they like to learn.
Yeah.
Dude, how would I leverage the contents of the book and the training to, the best of my ability? Meaning right now, if you were coaching me, let's say you were my freaking brother and you said, dude, you need to train your salespeople to do obviously better negotiations, because with better negotiation skills, they're going to make more gross revenue. They're going to make happier customers. They're going to make deals faster. They're going to freaking get more repeat business.
Yeah.
They're going to stay longer. And by the way, turnover costs people money, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's so difficult? How come so many businesses fail to train on negotiation?
Well, probably a couple different reasons. First of all, negotiation, which I'm sure you realize, is a perishable skill. If you're not practicing it in your small stakes conversations, you don't know it, but your skills dramatically erode. I mean, it just does. It's a perishable skill. It's like a sport. If you're playing golf, if you're not out on the driving range, you're not going to be hitting the ball the way that you should be. That's the first problem. The second problem is a lot of companies put it on the individual to train, which means in the company, they don't really have a culture of training, a culture of learning. There was a Dutch Shell executive probably 40 years ago said, the ability to learn is the only sustainable competitive advantage. Very few companies actually make it part of a core value to learn and get better. Because most of the executives, they learned on their own. So they think, well, you got to do it the way I did, prove that you can do it. So few companies really make it a value and then actually invest in their people so that they will get better.
Ironically, because the few that do seem to be highly successful companies, no?
It's a competitive advantage. If you really make it an actual value, a lot of companies, we'll give them a training day once a year. We're checking off the box for HR. And that is not the way you get people better. It's not really a core value. You're just trying to keep the HR people off your back. But the companies that prize learning, they're more profitable.
You're 1,000% correct. I've got a bunch of data because of the Lightspeed platform. So I see, and it's funny because I can have arguments with people that data science backs up. Like, for example, did you realize the training system, although it's not for the best people in the company, right? It's not for the experts that are already awesome. It's for the ones that aren't. So when you get new people, or you're trying to get everybody to sell like those people, the top 10% or 20%, that's who it's for. But because a lot of people have that training system with whatever content within their organizations, and the top people are the ones that use it the most.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to beg them. You don't have to freaking fire them. You don't have to freaking pay them. They're in there accessing this information. It's almost like smart, successful people understand that they need to learn on a regular basis. Training isn't something you did, it's something you do.
Good point. Exactly. Well put.
Hey, I want to talk to you offline more if you have time, and anytime you want to. I didn't know you were in Vegas. We're in Vegas. But anyway, for all the people listening that, there's already going to be a bunch that want to call you and master their skill individually. What about businesses though? You have the ability to let a business get their whole team tapped into your training without you personally being there.
Right. Yeah. We've got the online training, and then we design stuff specifically for companies. I got a team of black swans, and we'll train your team.
Now, what do you think the difference would be if I hired your company to work with my sales team? Like, let's say I'm doing 10 million a year right now, and you came in and just worked with my sales team, or not you personally, but your training system or your swan, or a blend, which would be ideal, live and virtual. But I went through your program, and my guys really took to it and mastered it. What kind of increase would you think I could expect?
If any individual is going to get at least 20% better, the number is probably much higher than that. one of the biggest accelerators for deals is actually understanding when you're the fool in the game, when you're wasting your time. There is no deal. You were never going to get the deal. And cutting those out, you don't even have to become a better negotiator just to get rid of the fake opportunities. And they're at least 20% of the things that you waste your time on. So just learning how to get rid of fake opportunities is going to accelerate your profitability.
Now, I can't count your book to a T, but I did think I read in there, be willing to walk away. Like that's a definite tactic to power in negotiations. Be willing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The person that cares least has more advantage. Yes.
Well, as long as you don't get emotionally hooked. I mean, a lot of people, Jim Camp wrote an interesting book back in 2002 called Start With No. And he talked about the other side's budget or your budget in the deal. And the emotional budget, your emotional vesting into the deal was the most expensive aspect. People get emotionally invested and they're going to make deals that they shouldn't make. Financially invested was actually third on a list of 4. Emotional investment was a much bigger deal. So to your point, if you feel like you can walk away, or if you're smart enough to realize it's going to be a bad deal, you're much better off walking away and finding a better deal.
Which, funny enough, allows the other party to realize you're willing. And then next thing you know, dude, they're leaning towards the way you want to go, which then makes it a better deal. All right. So I think I got too excited during this episode to ask intelligent questions so everybody would benefit. I've just asked the ones I wanted to know from you. Do you ever get retailed? Like, are you a master? Do you go in there and negotiate everything, or do you just like sometimes just pay what they're asking?
Well, sometimes I just need to practice. I will probably always try to establish a certain amount of rapport with the person that I'm buying from, no matter what the circumstances are, because there's a pretty good chance I'm going to be back. There's also a chance, how are they going to deliver to me what I want? Like if I'm in Starbucks, they're going to give me decaf because they didn't like the way that I dealt with them. So I'm always at least trying to establish some rapport with whoever I'm talking with.
Yeah, or let alone decaf. Is someone going to spit in your drink?
Exactly.
Man, treating people right is an undertone in that whole conversation. And I'll tell you, whether it's to enhance your ability to negotiate a deal, but dude, just to keep people from spitting in your drink, keep people from wanting you harm, keep people from talking shit about you on Yelp. Yeah. Business owners don't understand as much as I think they should how easy it is to screw up your reputation quickly.
Do something right, 3 people know about it. Do something wrong, 12 people know about it.
And when you're talking about, listen, win-win negotiations, make sure that, these people are coming back, acknowledge that. It sounds like you teach way more than negotiation, at least by my definition. Because when I'm thinking negotiation, I'm thinking, okay, we're dickering over a price here. Like you want 50, I want 40. How do I get, like, if I'm a customer, how do I get them to 40, Chris? And then if I'm a dealer, I'm going to say, how do I get them to 50, Chris? So you got to teach the dealers how to get people to pay more, which to me, again, is negotiation. And you got to tell the people how to get the dealer to give it to them for less, which is negotiation. So which side do you think you're stronger at? Teaching people how to get a better deal or teaching people how to get more money?
I think we're good at both.
Good answer. Well, if you had to pick and you were only good at one, what are you better at?
Well, I think buying is really important because you got to know what you're buying. And if you think it's only the price, you're going to be disappointed in a lot of the stuff that you buy. For example, in my company, we don't bargain over price. We bargain over terms. I know if I give you your price, you're likely to be really happy with the deal and you're going to implement the terms like crazy. And where I really lose money otherwise is in sloppy implementation and bad terms. So, we don't give people a hard time over price. We want to know what goes with that price, and we're going to want every last ounce of it.
Folks, I feel weird because I don't have my bombs. Like this would have been a carpet bomb episode. I'm gonna, for the first time ever, edit an episode, but only to drop in the sound effects.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Hey, I appreciate you popping in here. I know that you were busy as hell, and you know, I don't know how it happened, but I appreciate your time, folks.
My pleasure.
Go follow them everywhere on social media at the FBI Negotiator on Instagram, correct?
Yes, it is.
At Black Swan Limited LTD, at Black Swan LTD. Obviously, you can Google him, Chris Voss. He's everywhere. He's on all the news. Go watch his videos. And frickin', as always, until next time, share this podcast out and keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the Real Brad Lea. Subscribe now.